Hi, I'm John Underhill, and welcome back. This is another video for ExoticBlanks.com on their Bandit pen series. So a while back, I was making some videos, and my good friend Dick Singh came up with a great idea for the Bandit pen. He thought adding a custom center band with beads to the center band and the finial would be a way to take your wood pens one step further. So with the help and idea from Dick Singh, this is what we came up with. So here's what we have to work with. I've started with the Bandit Rollerball stainless steel set, and I've already turned the barrels down using some hard maple with some bark inclusions. So what we're going to do now is we're going to take the center band and we're going to take the finial and we're going to add wood to these parts to match the body of the pen. First thing we're going to do is we're going to remove the black threads from the coupler. And the center band is stainless steel, so it's going to allow us to work within this channel here without having to worry about damaging any plating. Alright, so here's what I've done. I've faced off where we cut our finials off, so that way I know I have a nice smooth surface. And I have a 15-30 seconds drill bit in my Jacob's chuck. And now I'm going to drill a hole through the entire center of this. That will give me enough space to cut 2 center bands from. So I'm going to start the lathe, and I'm going to approach with the drill bit, and I'm going to let it touch and find its center. Then I'm going to lock the tailstock in place, and I'm going to drill. It's important that you clear the hole, that way you don't build up heat and start your wood on fire. So, I didn't drill all the way into this scrap block because I don't want to weaken the bond between these two materials. So I left about 1/4 of an inch, and that should still give me enough space to part off my center bands. I can always drill the second one a little deeper if I need to. Alright, our next step now is to take our center band, line it up with the edge of this wood on the inside of the groove, and we're going to mark a line here where we have to part this off. Not a lot of room to work, but okay. So the important thing is when we start to cut this, start small, and we can always come back and adjust our cut. Because I have so much material here, if I start to cut a little bit and it doesn't line up, I know I can come in and recut that without messing it up. And we are just barely touching it, so I'm going to move in just a hair towards the tailstock and recut. Alright, now we've got a nice groove. Fits in there well. Now we'll part that off. I'm going to lay a piece of fabric up here to catch that, so when I do part it off it doesn't roll away on me. Okay, so before I do anything else, I'm going to just lay it on the sandpaper, and I'm going to rotate it a few times. That way I know I'm getting even sanding. Not applying pressure to any one side too much. We'll smooth them both out. These sides aren't going to be seen, but it stops any burrs from sticking up so that we know we can get it glued inside of our center band. So there we go. We know that it fits. Okay, so I've got a vise. Now I'm going to look at this and try to figure out the best way to break this with the wood grain. So the grain's kind of running across, so that's the way I'm going to put it in. I'm going to try to center it to where it's perfectly in half. It doesn't have to be, but it'll make it easier when we try to insert both edges and glue them back together. So now I'm just going to take equal pressure and pop that off. So now I have two clean sides that I will put back together around that ring. All right, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to place a little bit of glue dry on the metal. It just makes it easier because I'm holding the metal. That way I don't have glue. I'm not gluing things to my fingers. All right, so next I'm going to put the glue on one piece around the edge here, and I'm going to place that in here in the glue groove, and I'm just going to hold it there. Now I'm going to take a little bit of glue and put on these edges. And glue it in from the other side. And press nice and firm. And it'll set up nice. Now what I can do is I can go over the top of this and just hit these edges real well with a little bit of glue, and it'll soak in. Let it roll towards the metal. It'll soak in and it'll dry nicely. We're going to let that sit for, say, an hour, let it cure, and then I'll come back, we'll turn that down and add the beads. Alright, so here we have the center band mounted on the lathe. What I'm doing is I'm using the turn-between center mandrels. I've also taken an old Delrin bushing, cut it in half, and slid it on there, and then I used the 7mm slimline bushing, and then topped it off with the Delrin bushings, and the cones then come together, but the points don't meet, and it allows me to hold that metal center band piece in place while I turn this down. Now, because we're going to put a bead on it, I'm not going to turn it flat against the metal. I'm going to leave it pronounced so that the bead is above the metal edges of this of the center band. So here goes. Alright, so now we've left it pronounced maybe 1/8 of an inch over the top of the metal, and now I'm going to come in and I'm going to cut my beads, and I'm going to start my first bead to where it's along the outer edge, and then I'll do the same on the other side. And this is the 16th inch bead. So what I've done, I've cut the bead down until I hit the metal, and then I've basically left that as my depth gauge. So I did it on each side, that way my rings will be even. Now what I'm going to do is sand this up lightly, kind of clean up some of these edges, and see what we have. And for the single bead pen, it's the same process. And we'll clean that up the same way we did the last one. See, because this is stainless steel, it allows us to pick the glue off without worrying about messing up any of the finish, because this is just solid stainless steel. Very durable. Now we're going to apply a light glue boost finish over that wood. I'm going to cover the bed of the lathe to protect it. I'm using ultra thin. I'm going to turn the lathe down very slow. All I want to do is allow it to soak in. Put a little bit in the groove. And I'll do that about 4 or 5 times. just to build up a nice protective finish. Alright, and there we have it. Now I'm just going to take some micro mesh and I'm going to lightly sand this. Not going to use any water, I'm just going to use dry with very light pressure, and that'll be just enough to kind of polish it up. First I'm going to lightly hit it with some steel wool. Alright, so here's how I'm going to buff it. I'm going to basically take a Sharpie marker, I'm going to slide it down on the marker, and that's going to allow me to hold this while I buff it without it go flying off on me. Plus, see how black this wheel is? That's because of the metal, the stainless steel. So if you've got a Beal buffing wheel or something a little larger that you normally use, you don't want to get it all black because it's hitting these stainless steel parts. So I went out and I bought this little 4-inch wheel, and it fits in a drill press. Here they are, finished pens, fully assembled with our new beaded center bands to match the custom finials. I think it's a great, elegant looking wood pen. It gives us some options on what sizes we want to use. I want to say thank you to Dick Singh for your support and your guidance and a great idea in this project. Hopefully you guys enjoyed watching the video. Thanks for joining me. I'm John Underhill.